Hello everybody, Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Recap, a Guy's Review. In this video, we've got Lance Bass, former member of pop sensation boy band NSYNC, talking about Colton Underwood coming out of the closet. Lance Bass is, if anyone can share their experience, it is Lance Bass, who was in one of the most famous boy bands of all time and then comes out of the closet. He is being interviewed in this podcast by Ashley and Ben of the Almost Famous podcast, which I have to say, after having listened to this, I think they do a really good job on this podcast. I was always wondering, and leave a comment, how they even got started, Ashley I and Ben Higgins, of an interesting duo, if you ask me. But we'll get into this story. First, let's jump over to the quotes that were pulled. Now, this podcast came out several days ago, but the world of the internet is just picking up the story now, as there's been a lot to cover regarding Colton Underwood coming out of the closet. And of course, a lot of issues, including the petition that's up to 25,000 signatures to cancel Colton's new docuseries on Netflix, which follows his coming out, mainly because of the stalking and harassing of his ex-girlfriend, as he was caught in her alleyway, following her, showing up to her parents' house in her apartment in Los Angeles and placing a tracking device duct taped underneath the trunk of her car. Heavy stuff, folks. So anyway, in this article from Good Morning America, they shared a few quotes from Lance Bass. I'll play like a 6-minute clip, which I think gives us a little bit more info on the tone. It's always important to know tone. Language isn't, it's all about understanding what the person's trying to say. And a lot of times with the written world, Facebook, Twitter, when you write things down, you don't understand someone's tone, and therefore you can misinterpret what they're saying. In this quote, though, we have Lance Bass saying, "This gay community is very diverse, but we can also be very fickle." He's definitely going to get a lot of backlash from the community at first. Not the majority, but there's a small percentage of the community that's just going to not like the fact that he came out this way, said Bass, 41, explaining that Underwood, 29, may be accused of monetizing the experience. Now, of course, we know that there's plenty of people in the gay community that have faced incredible injustice, either before coming out or afterwards. And due to all that, it must be very tough to see someone who just comes out of the closet in a world where being gay is sort of, you hate to compare it to Taylor Nolan, but as we know from the videos with Taylor Nolan, she talked about centering herself in her whiteness as a biracial person, centering herself in her whiteness when it was a good time to be white, and then centering herself in her blackness when it was a good time to be black. And with Colton, of course, the scenario is different. He's a unique person, so we're going to judge him differently. But having sort of been publicly shamed, having the temporary restraining order granted against him, and all these issues, he hasn't been deplatformed per se, but he has sort of been exiled from the Bachelor community, and he is just reemerging with his platform saying, "Hey, I'm out of the closet. Come on, let's go. I want to show you why I suffered." And while it'll be great that he does share his story, you have to look at the suspecting audience that goes, "Man, I don't know about this. I don't know." Not to say he's not gay, but just to say a little inopportune, the fact that you're going to be, monetizing this whole experience. So he will get that fair criticism. Now, Lance Bass, just to update you young whippersnappers, okay, because this is my high school experience, was Lance Bass, okay? He's an American singer, dancer, actor, and film and television producer from Mississippi, and he rose to fame as the bass singer, not the bass singer. He's Lance Bass, a bass singer, not Lance Bass, a bass singer. If you're learning English for the first time and are confused. For the American pop boy band NSYNC. NSYNC's success led Bass to work in Big Mouth Billy Bass. To work in film and television, he starred in the 2001 film On the Line. Okay, so in 2006, Lance Bass came out as gay in a cover story for People magazine. He was awarded the Human Rights Campaign Visibility Award in October 2006. Listen, folks, you don't just get a parade for coming out as gay back in the day. Ellen DeGeneres lost her sitcom. You know her as the talk show host. Her career was ended for a long while because of coming out of the closet. And there are plenty of closeted gay people that work in entertainment that are still afraid to come out. They're afraid at what it will do to their bank accounts and how they will be perceived. Lance will explain in this podcast that he actually came out because they were going to get the story out regardless, which is the worst reason to come out. But, you know, let's just play this clip here. I'm going to play this clip. It's about 7 minutes long. It's fascinating stuff, guys. So to listen to the whole thing, go to the Ben and Ashley I Almost Famous podcast. I like to support the creators themselves. I'm just a recap reaction channel, so I'll only play a short clip here.
First Bachelor, who has now came out as gay. This is a story that we have to talk about. That's why we're here today, and that's why we're going to bring on somebody who can really help navigate this with us, is Lance Bass. And I think, honestly, can speak a lot of wisdom and truth into this new season of life that Colton is walking into.
All right, let's get Lance in.
Well, hello, guys.
Hey, Lance.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Lance Bass, man, it's good to talk to you again. It's been a bit. It was Las Vegas when I was last able to hang out with you, and I think Ashley was probably last able to hang out with you.
Oh, no. Lance and I have spoken many a time since.
Oh, yes. We have a very intimate relationship.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I'm very proud.
Well, Lance, you're obviously here based on the announcement that Colton Underwood made yesterday. There is, and I'm going to walk through this with you. I really hope that you can help navigate this and share a lot of wisdom because you've been through this season. But there's these moments in reality television that just like are in a sense like sacred, or they transcend the reality television world. This is one of those yesterday. No matter, you know, what you think of Colton, you've got to celebrate this moment for him, right? Because you know how big of a step this was.
Well, you know, I do feel like the official gay guide to people coming out. It's, you know, in this business, you meet tons of people that are still in the closet. And there's several major actors and musicians out there that still have not been able to come out publicly because they fear many things. They fear what their family's going to think. They, you know, their friends. It's just everyone's coming out is their own story, right? And I'm just glad that Colton could tell his story. You know, I can really relate to his experience because in a way, you know, I was kind of like in a Batch Nation type situation where, you know, 90% of my fans were women and they all thought I was straight. And I made my money off of women. Right. And singing about love, and using, you know, that market. So, you know, me coming out, it was scary because I'm like, well, crap. Now everyone's, you know, going to see me as a liar, you know, and why did I do this to them? So you start telling yourself all these just the worst case possible scenarios of everything. You know, even my family, you know, I'm from Mississippi. So I was like, well, crap, like what's my family going to think? How is my little small town going to treat my family when I come out? So, you know, there's a lot of things going through your mind before you're able to publicly, you know, admit that, yes, I am gay. And on the flip side of that also is, you know, this gay community is very, you know, diverse, but we can also be very fickle. You know, it's, he's definitely going to get a lot of backlash from the community at first, not the majority, but there is a small percentage of the community that's just going to not like the fact that he came out this way, that he's using this is, you know, monetizing the experience. So, I mean, you're going to get that. And they don't think that he deserves this attention. And one of those reasons is, and this is what I experienced when I came out, you don't know when you first come out, most people, they have no clue about the LGBT community. They don't know what the issues are. They have no idea because they've been so separated from that on purpose. So when someone comes out as a public figure, so many people immediately go to like, screw that, it's too late, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like they don't like to support it because they don't feel like you know what you're talking about yet. But I don't think Colton is kind of leading that charge of trying to be the spokesperson for the LGBT community. I see him really, you know, taking the responsibility of, you know, learning about the community, sharing his story with this, you know, documentary. And a lot of people are like, great, this is all for the money. He's doing a documentary. Well, yeah, that could be. But I mean, for me, seeing a documentary like that is only going to help the community because people will, you know, every story that you see on television or in a film of a gay, you know, character, everyone, you know, a different person can relate to that. And we haven't had too many representations of, you know, a gay person on television that came from this world, of this, crazy sports world where you had to hide it. And I mean, I'm just assuming that one of the reasons that he couldn't come out was because of his family and, his dad, he calls coach. So, I mean, I've seen that, over and over and over again. I've heard, that story. And so many people can relate to that of, keeping it such a secret for so long because of your dad. It's I think the number one reason people stay in the closet is because of their parents.
Yeah, yesterday it was said that his dad actually was there for the Good Morning America interview and stood beside him, which I think is a special moment. I just want to touch on something you said earlier. There's so much you just covered there that I'd love to dig into because, quite honestly, I don't know a lot about the community, and I would love to learn more. And it feels like this year, I don't know, man, it has just been a year of learning about so many things that I've been ignorant to or just not focused on. And so I'm really glad that we get to take this moment. But you made a comment right at the beginning. You said you feel like you're the gay guide in these situations. Is that something that bothers you personally? Is that something that you necessarily like? And I say this, and I'm going to say something here, and it could come off. Colton made an announcement on national television yesterday. One of the first things I thought was, is he ready for this step? Like, he might not, like, he is going to be a face now for this community. You are, as you self-admitted, like the gay guide in these situations. Is that a burden that feels really heavy? Is that something you enjoy? Is he ready for, like, can you walk me through that?
No, I mean, I don't find it a burden at all. I wish I would have had someone to be able to talk to when I first came out or right before I, came out. It would have helped explain a lot of things to me. It would have helped me say the right things the right way. Because everyone is going to be judging you so much, in this moment, right when you come out. I remember when and in my situation, and I don't know if this was his situation too, but, I was outed. Like I didn't have a choice. Like I had to come out or they were going to write the story. So I was kind of like really just pushed out of the closet. So I didn't really have the time to find gay allies and get to know the community before I came out. And so, you'd show up at HRC events, which I've done before, as a quote unquote straight guy. But this time, I go up on stage and I make a speech and, 2 tables get up, flip me off and leave, so it's just like, holy crap. That was my introduction to the gay community.
Fascinating stuff. You can go check out the rest of that podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. It's the Almost Famous podcast, the Ben and Ashley I Almost Famous podcast. Well, I mean, no better person to talk about the experience of coming out of the closet in the limelight than Lance Bass. Now, of course, with the Cassie Randolph situation, they did address it earlier on in this podcast. We need to walk and chew gum at the same time. What Colton can do with his platform to maybe normalize homosexuality within the world of athletics, which is very interesting because isn't it way more normalized with women than it is men? Obviously, there's this, he called his dad coach, as he said, which in and of itself doesn't sound homophobic, but just this idea of masculinity kind of needs to be separated from the idea of what gender you're attracted to. Plenty of gay people can be very masculine, and straight men can also be very feminine. And whatever it is you want to use to describe those different traits, they don't have to be masculine or feminine. They could be whatever. Like I've said before, you can like to listen to Broadway and also be a fan of football. The world's a complicated place, folks. So for Lance Bass, he's out there with his boy band gyrating, singing to these young women, which, by the way, Ashley I mean, she must be over the moon. She's at that age. I bet she cried nonstop listening to the, concerts or whatever. She's probably got the posters and, writes scrapbooks. I know you ladies. I know what you guys were doing in your teens. Just out there writing love letters you never sent to anybody. I get it, folks. So when he came out, he said he was afraid of being called a liar because it comes down to authenticity, everybody. It comes down to being authentic and feeling like you are presenting a version of yourself that you actually are on the inside. And so often you can hear it in someone's voice. You can tell when something's off in a lot of cases. Just your intuition can be like, man, I don't trust this person. I've got thousands of years of genetic DNA telling me who to trust and who not to trust to survive. My survival instincts say, I don't trust this person. Well, being the most authentic person to your core, bleeding out that soul, who you actually are, being comfortable in your own skin, just feeling like you can live that life where you're not living a lie or trying to be something else. That's going to be the hardest thing for Colton Underwood to overcome. Because as we know, and as we've tracked him, excuse the pun, was intended, but as we've tracked his career in the way you're supposed to, through the internet, not through a tracking device, but as we've tracked Colton's career, you've seen that he's been very emotional in the way he's responded to people, responded to criticism online, and how he's kind of been very manipulating in ways to in the ways he wants to get his image across. That doesn't mean that you should have you can assume that he was gay. There can be plenty of other issues within somebody that leads to a fraudulent kind of people pleasing way to be. I suffer from being a people pleaser. Oh, it's horrible. It's hard. It's daunting wanting to make people happy, and at the same time wanting to be authentic to who you are. Wanting to be able to apologize for things you're truly sorry for, but not apologize to appease someone else, even if it's going to make them angry. The idea is have your convictions about who you are and what you stand for. And we just don't know what that is with Colton. As Lance Bass says, Colton's got no clue about the purpose of the LGBT community and beyond, the struggle that they've been on. We saw, from I think a TMZ photo, him walking into the Stonewall, walking into, let's see, let's just look this up. Colton Underwood, Stonewall. Let's see if we can find the photo here. We might not be able to have it. I don't know if we got it offhand. This is them right outside there. But the point is that there's a lot of history within the community that Colton's going to learn about, and the benefit of, so the Stonewall riots, and this is Gus, what's Gus's name? Sorry guys, I'm a little, wasn't prepared to talk about this. Gus Kenworthy, to be Colton Underwood's sort of gay shaman, if you will, his gay guide, as they call it. And as Lance Bass said, he's an official gay guide. I didn't know gay guide was a term, but it makes sense. You're entering a new world that's not exactly spoken about in the public lexicon. I mean, sure, it's getting there, but there's plenty of people that don't know the history of the Stonewall riots. There's plenty of people that don't know the history of the AIDS epidemic before people even knew what AIDS was. People were dying left and right, weeks just gone like that. There were hotlines were set up to be able to talk to each other. This is pre-internet, guys. I mean, just a wild, scary time just a couple decades ago. And while of course it's still national news, if not international news, that someone like Colton comes out, obviously in part because of the irony of the fact that Colton Underwood went on a show which so far has been about heterosexual relationships and finding love. It doesn't mean, Demi Burnett came out as bisexual, and I'm sure there's other closeted gay people that have taken place on the show, whether to pursue their own platform or because they're in denial. In Colton's case, I tend to side with the fact that he was in such denial that he thought that by going on The Bachelor, it would prove that he was straight, not only to the nation, but to him too, and maybe his family. So, it's easy to look backwards and see this 2020 vision, but when you look at it from Colton's point of view, this guy was struggling, deeply, deeply struggling. Question is, of course he's going to receive criticism because he's operating on the largest streaming platform, the largest platform in the world. Netflix is the largest platform in the world. Okay, so he's going to be introduced to a gigantic new following, and he's going to be monetized off of that. Whether directly or indirectly, it's going to increase his value and the equity that his name has. So the question is, what's he going to do? And we'll have to see this, I guess, moving forward. What's he going to do to donate to the charities involved with LGBT and beyond? What's he going to do within this new community that he will be profiting off of, to not just be a face of the community, but to really put in the time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears that others in that community have put in. So like Lance said, to reiterate, people aren't going to be happy with the way he came out, But to be honest, people are going to be people are going to be unhappy with Colton for so many other reasons that, might as well try to make a Netflix documentary. So while I'm all about the 25,000 people so far that have signed the Netflix petition to cancel the Colton Underwood docuseries, but I also understand that while it will be triggering, and you do need to address the domestic violence, the stalking and harassing of his ex, I really hope that all gets its own episode in the documentary. I'm still operating with some blind optimism. We know that's not going to be the case. We know I'll be disappointed. But with that all said, the work that will be done within the gay community by having this documentary as a poster boy for like a straight, strong football player, like strip that all away. Colton Underwood's no different. He might be 6'5" and bench 280, whatever it is that he's got, whatever muscles he's got, but he's no different than you and I, and he's just trying to find his authenticity. So with all that said, I really do hope that within this project that he has some epiphany where he goes, oh, it feels really good to get my truth out. Let's talk about the anger and desperation that caused me to put a tracking device on my ex's car. Let's talk about all of that. And again, people will say, well, he probably signed something away or his lawyers don't want him to do this or do that. Well, listen, forget lawyers. Forget what's legal, whatever the advice may be. If it's about finding your authentic self, part of authenticity is telling your story. Not just so Cassie can hear it, but so others who may be in similar situations can hear it. So you can prevent senseless acts of domestic violence in the future. Because you do have that power and that platform to help educate others about where you went wrong and help people get mental health. Our issue in our country, our biggest issue is a lot of the defunding over the last generation or two of mental health issues. We whittle it down to drug addicts and crazy people. Well, it's not just drug addicts and crazy people. It's people that got so disenfranchised that they acted out in volatile ways. Whether it's from whatever obsessive darkness within the mind, which is probably Colton Underwood's situation, not a psychologist, or people that go into chemical dependencies or whatever. It doesn't come out of nowhere. We need to address the problem and not put a Band-Aid on the solution. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. And check out this full episode, the Ashley I and Ben Higgins Almost Famous podcast. It's a good one. We'll talk to you later now. I'm off to get my second dose. Follow me on Instagram if you want to watch that journey. It's going to be a long wait in line at Dodger Stadium. I'll see you guys later. Bye now.